maisons brûlent. Et nous regardons ailleurs. La nature, mutilée, surexploitée, ne parvient plus à se reconstituer. Et nous refusons de l'admettre. Prenons garde que le XXIe siècle ne devienne pas, pour les générations futures, celui d'un crime de l'humanité contre la vie.
Let's wind the clock back more than 11 years to September 2002 in Johannesburg. Jacques Chirac was the French president, making a speech at the Fourth Earth Summit. The world was becoming more aware of a problem that many considered a little too late. The former president sounding the alarm at the world's indifference to global warming. Well, since then, little changed. Just last September, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change speaking out. The warning that man's emission of greenhouse gases is the principal cause for global warming. According to scientists, the last 3 decades have been the warmest since 1850. And they say it is not about to get any better. A new increase in temperatures of up to 5 degrees in the next 85 years. Well, the experts say that urgent action is needed now to reduce emissions to avoid a series of catastrophes like drought, floods and other extreme weather. Well, there is one place in the world where climate change is far from a distant concept. It is the immediate nightmare for people living there. On a small island in Alaska is the Eskimo village of Shishmaref, seemingly doomed to soon disappear. The sea has already claimed dozens of homes. According to the scientists, Shishmaref will no longer be habitable by 2015. Well, our correspondents Valerie Defer and Sebastian Vornier have this report.
These are the mountains of Alaska, known here as the last frontier. Shishmaref lies on a thin strip of an island at the westernmost edge of the state, a native village of 600 Eskimos accessible only by plane. From the sky, it's clear just how vulnerable the island is. It's only 3 kilometers long and 1 kilometer wide. It's far from the typical postcard image of an Eskimo village surrounded by ice and snow. Here, there's another reality. Temperatures are rising, the ice is melting, and the village is on the verge of disappearing.
This is the Channel 2 News Late Edition.
Storm may force more people to abandon their homes in the village of Shishmaref. This is home video from a recent storm that washed away several boats and flooded part of the village. Many who live on the barrier island just south of the Arctic Circle say this latest storm has more people talking of moving the village onto the mainland.
It was a close call for Stanley Taktu. Waves, a terrifying 4 meters high, consumed his home.
This is where my old house used to be, a big old long house, so this is what's left of it. From there to here.
Stanley wasn't the only victim.
But they're all...
As these photos taken by neighbors show, 16 other houses were destroyed.
The ground was undercut and then the ground was collapsing. We were losing, like I say, 20 feet of land an hour from the north side.
The village no longer has an ice bank to protect its shores. The waves have begun to erode the permafrost, the frozen soil on which Shishmaref is built. To protect themselves, the villagers have built a seawall made of rocks. It cost them around $1 million.
They didn't have enough funding to make this high enough. You notice it's a lot lower here.
Even though it's the beginning of winter, the ice still hasn't frozen. The rising temperatures are disturbing the natural cycle and destabilizing the lives of the Eskimos. It's noon, and the sun is up for just a few hours. Lucy, Troy, and Jonathan are going seal hunting in the lagoon. Eskimos hunt and fish their own food. Normally at this time of year, they track down walruses and polar bears on the ice bank.
There is less snow at this time of the year because long ago there used to be a lot of snow.
We're only 30 kilometers from the Arctic Circle, but the ice caps are melting, making animals more scarce. Eskimos now have to travel further to go hunting. And petrol in Shishmaref is very expensive. €40 a liter. That's double the price in Juneau, the capital of Alaska.
They barged the gas in. I think that's why the gas price went up.
Lucy and her friends want their hunting day to be as profitable as possible.
Got it. So the meat won't get stink from the heat. If your hands get cold, you can warm them up.
In Alaska, only native communities are allowed to hunt protected sea mammals. It's a tradition that is 4,000 years old.
So what can you make with it?
Beaver hats, mittens, mucklucks, slippers, anything.
And you can get money? How much money you think you can get with those?
For the whole skin, maybe 300, 400 for the skin.
The Arctic ice field has lost 30% of its surface in the past 30 years. Lucy now has to go seal hunting on a bank of sand.
I don't know why it's not frozen, not right now, but it usually is a lagoon. The lagoon is usually frozen. We'd usually be ice fishing by now.
As a consequence, there are fewer animals. This day, Lucy only caught one seal. The family had to leave quickly so it could cut the meat before it rotted.
6 good meals out of it, about 6 meals. They're gonna boil them or hang them, half dry them, and then boil it, eat it.
Hunting has also become more dangerous. Because of the lack of prey, bears have begun to scavenge for food in the village. Sergio is a hunter who has seen this for himself.
That bear came out from the beach, and we try holler at it to let it run away, but it still come at us. Then that's when we shot it.
The days are over when the community was self-sufficient for its food. We meet Kim at the grocery store. He wants to show us the exorbitant cost of life in Shishmaref.
Says $13 for coffee. In Anchorage, it probably costs about maybe $8 for this kind, same size.
You can find most American products here, but at twice the normal price.
The air freight has a lot to do with our prices.
I don't know how much.
It's impossible to grow fruit or vegetables on Shishmaref's swath of sand.
What these? You know what these are?
Avocados.
Avocado, okay.
Kim has lived for 55 years on Shishmaref, but doesn't feel safe on the island anymore.
It's getting too dangerous, the water. Water's getting too high. We had beach down there long ago. Now it's all deep water right here after climate change.
Like most houses in Shishmaref, Kim and Stella's home doesn't have running water or gas. Rainwater is the only drinking water available.
I show you. We do have a full tank that holds our drinking water, and we've filled it up with rainwater. This right
That
here
night,
is
Kim prepares a traditional Eskimo dinner.
salmon. I think I make real delicious.
Raw, frozen cod, and raw seal heart dipped in seal oil. Meals like this are becoming harder and harder to find. Kim can't hide his frustration.
We'd have had snow right now, but there's no snow. It's still warm out. even though we can't see them and we're not around them, but we still know it's from the cars and factories.
Within the next 50 years, who knows if we're still going to have Shishmaref. It gets smaller and smaller every year.
And the recent predictions from scientists are even more pessimistic. To get a better understanding of the situation, we went to the University of Alaska, more than 1,000 kilometers from Shishmaref. For more than 30 years, Charlie Collins has been analyzing the permafrost, which is the mix of sand and ice that makes up Alaska's soil.
This permafrost here is over 30 to 40,000 years old, so it's been preserved here since the last ice age.
But there's a problem. The rise in temperatures is causing the permafrost to melt, eroding the soil, like in Shishmaref.
But if you get in here, this is very hard. It's ice-bonded silt. So it's the presence of ice in these fine-grained soils that make thawing permafrost so critical, such a problem.
His colleague, Professor Romanovsky, measures the temperature of the soil. His research shows that it's risen by 3 degrees Celsius in Alaska over the past 30 years.
October was the warmest in the history of measurements.
In Alaska, global warming threatens 183 of the 200 native villages. And according to projections, some like Shishmaref could disappear by 2017.
It could happen very, very soon already for many of those villages. It seems like it's inevitable. It's just a question of time. So how much time they have, 10 years or 30 years, but probably not more than that.
After centuries on this island, the people of Shishmaref know they have no choice but to leave. But where to? They've been waiting to relocate for more than 10 years. We meet with Stanley again. He's the community manager, the modern equivalent of a tribal chief. For the past 10 years, he's been trying to raise money from the state, federal government, and any other organization willing to help get the 5 million euros they need to move the entire village. But with the economic crisis, no one is willing to contribute this kind of money.
The federal government and the state government can't fight each other on relocate. They got to come together, find a solution, work together, work the problem out instead of, blame each other and who's funding what.
In the U.S., there are no laws to support refugees who have lost their homes to climate change.
We're still Americans, they got to take care of us too.
The people here would like to stay in the region.
We got Igloo, that's the end of the Serpentine where the forts end, the Arctic, Tin Creek, West Unistock, West Tin Creek.
About a dozen sites have been chosen around Shishmaref, but none of them are viable.
We're going to have to find a suitable place because all the yellow places where they tested, there's about 8 to 20 feet of permafrost.
Since the relocation project began in 2003, all regular subsidies have been put on hold. The government won't renovate or build anything until the relocation site is chosen. These houses were supposed to be for erosion victims.
It took us 9 years for them to get these built. Again, because of the word relocation, they put the housing projects on hold.
The least expensive solution would be to move the community to a bigger city. But that's an option most of the villagers reject. The erosion may be threatening the Inuit culture, but many in Shishmaref are working hard to preserve their way of life. Every Saturday night, there's a traditional dance class. Songs, which have been passed down from one generation to the next, talk about the Eskimos' daily life. For many, like Mary, moving to a bigger town is out of the question.
That sense of community and that sense of us and we would dissipate greatly.
At school, students have the same curriculum as all other American teenagers. But in Shishmaref, They also learn how to sew animal skins and carve ivory, skills passed down by their ancestors.
Okay, after you flatten the top, they wanted them to learn how to get the skills, retain the skill, utilize that skill when they leave school so they can actually make an income.
Like most teenagers in the village, Taylor has dropped out of high school. What's the point, they say, when there are so few jobs? He spends his day carving ivory to make arts and crafts sold in tourist shops in the big towns.
It's made out of ivory, tusk. Probably this would go for maybe 150 maybe.
But others have decided to leave Shishmaref for Anchorage. Ralph, for example, has become an engineer. He's got no illusions about the future of Shishmaref.
It's hard to justify spending hundreds of millions of dollars to prevent something that we don't know if it's really going to occur. If you say the federal government needs to help one culture, there are many hundreds of cultures that would also would like to be preserved. So where do you start?
But what price can you put on the preservation of a culture? How do you weigh the financial cost against the disappearance of the Inuit way of life? Because the hard truth is this: if nothing is done, a culture that has endured 4,000 years will very soon disappear.
The residents of Shishmaref living on the edge of a precipice. Well, that's all from this edition of Revisited. More editions, of course, coming up, so do stay with us. You're Francois Van Camp. Thanks for watching.